Okay, for part 2 of our Buzz Lightyear render, you can see I blocked in the background 2 layers of 90, so 2 passes to get that nice rich color. I blocked in some parts of Buzz inside the helmet, plus his cap, and I just started adding a stroke of pencil. This is actually a blend, and I'll show you how I do this. This is why we focus on how to add pencil using strokes where you don't show the individual strokes. It's not a sketch we're doing, it's actually a blend, just like you would with markers, except it's white over the black of that 90%. And you can see just by doing that, I've got the illusion of a bit of a glow started already. I've actually taken it farther than you see in the reference. And what we need to do next is we actually need to blend it back in and smooth it. So I'm actually using a 10 here. Now as we do this, this is one of the reasons that you'll find your 10 and your 20 and your blender will tend to wear out faster, because running them over white pencil, colored pencil, will tend to dry them faster. And you can see just by liquefying that white pencil, I get what looks much closer to a nice marker blend. And then you can adjust this as you go. And you see that inside pencil line, it's virtually disappeared. It's kind of still there. On the outer edge of the helmet, I can come back with a dark tone. In fact, let's take 90 again and just hit that edge, get a nice clean edge. You can do this, you could even add a little bit of black color pencil. I don't, unless I feel I am not getting what I want. Just like that, very quickly, I got this nice, fairly finished looking zone of tone. Now watch what happens when I, once again, a third pass with the 90, I add more 90 over the top. This is my third layer, and it gets that much richer and deeper. Don't take it all the way over the pencil. And what's really cool about this is that as you start to get to this level of layering of the pencil and the marker, I'm now taking a 30, you get a genuine glow. This it's a little bit of color perspective. The white pencil tends to be cooler than the cool gray markers, and so it creates this kind of halo of just almost a slightly blue cast, which I think is very interesting because you can use that to your advantage. Anything that is the slightest color shift can be used to enhance that spatial effect. So here I am going one more pass just to show you how you can keep going in and modifying. And there is a point of where you would overwork. I can even make that pencil line disappear a little bit more, maybe not. And finally, I'm just going to take a 10 and do the final blend. And you see I'm working just this section, so I did not work the arm at the same time. I did not go over this area. The issue with doing glass in front of the arm will be different, similar but different. Let's just look at dealing with this area. So you notice I'm starting with a lighter gray, being a little cautious here. I think this is almost pure white. This is the thickness of the plastic, so it's almost a pure white. It kind of goes into a 5, even a 10. And I lost some of that detail down here. I am not worried about it. I'm actually going to bring in a little bit of this 20 in here. Not sure if I like that or not, but you know, you experiment as you go. So I'm going to put a little bit of white pencil over that, brighten it back up. Now, taking that white pencil, I'm going to restore some of this edge. you can see I can do that. I can also, this is where the graphite comes in, becomes part of your permanent illustration. This is my 50% gray in HB. It's about a 50% gray. Ink line would be too strong. So what I'm doing is I'm actually stroking in just a little bit of that graphite, and then what I do is I take, I could take a mid-tone, probably 70's too dark. And I actually blend that in, and you can see the graphite also blends and liquefies into the marker underneath, and you don't even know that it's been used, but it creates a hard edge. Graphite is resistant to marker to the extent that it's like a, well, it acts like a grease. It's not a grease, but you can put an edge on a line and then marker up to it and give it a clean look. It's kind of nice for very subtle things like that. Now, I'm going to refine this. Just kind of take you through a little bit more of how you do this helmet in the glass. The fine tip of the markers, you know, I'm using these a lot now because this is what they're for, to get into these fine areas. So we have that kind of we're in drawing mode basically. Drawing in detail, I'm putting another layer of tone there. And I can, when I feel like I'm ready, I could start adding a glow, for example. Let's pull this glow, same glow down. Let's actually do the same thing here. So lots of pressure to start, and then as I feather it out, lighter pressure, and just let it fade off. That is actually, sometimes if you have a edge of a paper, beware of that. It creates a little line. I'm not going to worry about it because I can blend it out. But if that's happening, just move your paper underneath. So now we repeat the process. So again, 10 or 20 will do the job here. I'm going to blend across this white pencil. Get it to blend down into the 90. So I don't tend to go like this. I tend to, you notice I'll marker in the direction of the curve. If I do this, you'll get kind of a sketchy, jagged pattern to the blend. I want to get a nice curvature to the blend. So right there you can see I really used a lot of marker in there. The paper got quite slick, which it will when you mix pencil and marker. Now I'm actually going in and the paper feels kind of slick and smooth, which is fine because I can actually do a smoother blend while the paper is still drying. Second layer. So you'll notice layering is a big deal in this media to refine and to get those like super real, super rich renders with marker, pencil, and ink and graphite. You have to layer. You have to kind of go back in and readdress areas and just layer. If you know how to do it, like wetting an area, you notice I'm wetting this area again, I can make that glow. If the glow comes down too far, I'm just going to go back in with the 90 and actually kind of do this edge at the same time. Then I'm going to push that glow back up until I get it adjusted to where I want it. And again, you notice stroking in the same direction as that sphere. Now sometimes I will go in and just kind of push this tone around a little bit. Not highly recommended, but sometimes if the paper's not drying and you've built up pencil and layers of marker, I just help it along by just kind of patting it. Another way to do that is to take a little bit of paper towel and just pat it. So like right here, it's sort of at the point where it's getting a bit slick. And I'll leave it right there for now. This area is a little bit cloudier. Actually, maybe one more. Let's give it one more shot. Go back in one more time. And if I feel like I've been on the area too long, I'll leave it alone and let it dry. Because I don't want the paper to get overworked or oversaturated. It doesn't really help me. At some point it becomes counterproductive. And here again, I'm just kind of patting that and I'll leave it. Okay, so that is that area. It's not finished by any means. Fine tuning, I can go in on these two elements. Now, if you find that you just can't get a hard edge, let the paper dry. Because while the paper is wet, if this area has gotten all saturated with the marker base fluid, it's going to be really hard to get a sharp edge. And so at that point, I'll actually back off, work somewhere else for a while, and then come back and readdress that area. Last but not least, and that's where wash comes in, we can, to solve any final issues, to get a perfect bright highlight, to put a tiny bit of a perfect edge on an area, you can stroke in a little bit of gouache. I do that sometimes when I feel like the paper's gotten a bit overworked and I can't bring up the white, again, using just the pencil. And right about there, I would like to create a hard edge on this left side. So I'm putting a little bit of graphite down. And then over that, just a little bit, do a trick here. I'm putting a little bit of this 70% gray marker. I believe that's 70. No, it's just a 40. That'll do though. I'm sealing in the graphite. And you can see I got kind of a nice sharp edge happening right there. And I will take that. So the graphite is a neat trick to put a stroke on one side here and then put a little bit of marker on it, a similar value, and then you can even put a darker marker on it, and the graphite will allow you to get a nice clean line. If I blend on the paper alone, it tends to feather a little bit. That's the natural property of the paper. You want to fight that sometimes and actually have it blend more abruptly. So on the top of his head, I'll just go into this a little bit and then we'll stop. I was rendering the ball shape of the top of his head. And I actually let this dry so I kind of show you how I reactivate the area. I blend across towards this major highlight, which is a very soft highlight. I also brought a little white pencil in here because there was a hot spot here. So I went from 70 to 40 back to 70 on the side. And let's say I just want to get more drama happening there. You can see I'm actually hitting almost 70 there on the left side of his head. I would actually do that now, for example. Always got those 3 markers in my hand. I'm going to, what do I got here? I've got 10. Using it as a blender. Soften, and I can speed up that transition. Cool thing though is, I'm going to blend this out a bit more, darken overall. Here's the thing. Far edge is getting lost. It actually gets lost in the reference too. What if I want to put a little bit more reflected light here? So like on your chrome object and your glass object, I bring a stroke of white pencil back. This is an example of actually making your rendering a little better than the original source material. Do that all the time. I mean, why are they going to hire you if you're not going to make things better than the photo reference? So I'm actually putting a stroke of white pencil down there to separate the far side of his head from the dark background, and then I'm actually blending that in, and now I get this nice separation. You can kind of see how his head on this area shows up a little bit more. In illustration, it's about describing things. It's about telling a story. It's about describing clearly.